Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining. We are in the Bhagavad Gita systematic summary study program. We are in chapter 5. This is organized by Bhakti Vriksha team from New Jersey. My name is Patita Pavan Balram Das. I am one of the member of the Bhakti Vriksha team. We'll get started. Let me share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
One minute.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, great. So we are in chapter 5.
అదే
Gita, Gyan. Gyan means essence. Bhagavad
అదే
Gita is
వేసుకోవాలి.
also called Gita Upanishad because it is the essence of all Vedic scriptures. We don't have the ability or the time. Of course, maybe some people might have, but in general, most of the population in this Kali Yuga don't have the capability or the capacity or the ability to understand all the Vedic literature and study. It is mentioned that it takes around 125 years to completely read all the Vedic literature and understand, but we hardly live for 100 years. So that's why we need to look at what is the essence, and the essence is Bhagavad Gita. And we are very fortunate that we are able to read this Bhagavad Gita, at least understand the essence of Bhagavad Gita, essence of Vedic scriptures in Bhagavad Gita during the month of Kartik, because anything done from the spiritual platform in the month of Kartik, the benefit is thousandfold. Before we discuss about any spiritual topics, we will say a few prayers to um, request or to get the mercy of the Supreme Lord and the Acharyas so that we discuss this very nicely. Since we have been doing this from the last 4 classes, we will say all these mantras together. Everyone can go on mute and say along with me. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. So we are dedicating this program to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He is the founder of ISKCON, is International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and we are inspired to do this program by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami, who is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada and one of the senior members of ISKCON. Yeah, so we have been doing this program by reading the glories of Bhagavad Gita written by Shankaracharya from in Gita Mahatmya. So we'll read one more verse from there. Anyone wants to read the verse and the translation? Feel free.
भरतमृत सर्वसं विष्णुवक्त्रद् विनिश्रितं गीता गंगोदकं पीत्वा पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते.
Jai.
By drinking the Ganges waters of Gita, the divine quintessence of the Mahabharata, emanating from the holy lotus mouth of Lord Vishnu, one will never take rebirth in the material world again. In other words, by devotionally reciting the Gita, the cycle of birth and death is terminated. Hare Krishna.
Jai, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So the 4 Purusharthas are like the Sanatana Dharma is a balanced approach. It says, what is that? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. We take up the religion, and we also, as part of the process, we acquire some economic development and we fulfill our desires, kamas. But ultimately, we have to reach moksha. And if we are stuck in those only artha and kama, then the purpose of human form of life is lost. So we need to take steps towards that moksha, and that moksha is the breaking of the cycle of birth and death, because we are the soul. The soul has no death; it is eternal. But since the soul is now encaged in the body, covered under ignorance, we think that we are dying, like as when the body dies. But it essentially the body doesn't die. And once we establish ourselves on the spiritual platform, on the platform of the soul, then we realize the full bliss that is there on the platform of the soul. And our goal is to break the cycle of birth and death. And that is possible by reading the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, because that gives us the essence of Vedas, which also gives the purpose of human form of life. We'll do a quick recap of chapter 4. Chapter 4 is all about, anyone remembers the name of that chapter?
Gnana Karma Yoga, that's what I think, Prabhuji.
Yeah. In English, it is mentioned as transcendental knowledge. And how is knowledge acquired? Through disciplic succession. It has to start from Krishna, and through various disciples and successions, that knowledge is transmitted through generation after generation. And that is the most authenticated and perfect way of acquiring knowledge. Other ways of acquiring knowledge are all imperfect and error prone. And we have 4 sampradayas. We are from the Brahma Mada Gaudiya Sampradaya. And who can understand Bhagavad Gita, or who can acquire the transcendental knowledge? The 2 qualifications are, one should be a devotee of Krishna and one should be favorable, should be a friend of Krishna. And what did we understand from Bhagavad Gita? In chapter 4, Krishna introduces the concept, or introduces the way in which we can break the cycle or never come back to this material world, which is to understand his divine appearance. If we simply know that the Lord can appear anywhere in this material world in any form, like take Lord Narasimha. Lord Narasimha, how did he appear? Was he born from a womb of a mother? Where did he appear?
In a pillar.
In a pillar, right? So
Yeah.
once the pillar opens up, when Hiranyakashipu hits the pillar, he breaks the pillar open, and then Lord Narasimha comes out. And then he disappears afterwards. So same thing. Why in the case of Lord Narasimha we accept, and when we come to Krishna we say that, oh, he's a baby, he went on top of a mountain, he meditated at the age of 16, and he came down as um, a spiritually realized person. No, Krishna's birth is transcendental. Once we understand the transcendental birth of Krishna, like what we discussed yesterday about the how he appeared, he simply appears for 3 reasons, which is Paritranaya sadhunam, vinasaya cha dushkrutam, dharma samsthapanarthaya, sambhavami yuge yuge. So he simply appears. If a devotee sincerely calls, Krishna, I want you here, he will appear. That's what happened. He came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because one of the acharyas, Advaita Acharya, he was praying, he was crying for Krishna. Krishna, this Kali Yuga is so fallen. Please come, please come. We need to save these people here. So he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he started this Sankirtana movement, which was also predicted in Srimad Bhagavatam.
Prabhuji, who is the Advaita Acharya who prayed for appearance of Krishna in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Yeah, so we have Panchatattva in our Sampradaya. So the 5 incarnations, like one is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. His close associates, one is Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Acharya, Gadadhara Prabhu, and Srivasa. They are from West Bengal, and they are the ones who spread this movement. So when Krishna comes, he comes along with his paraphernalia. So you take any avatara, he comes with his like when he comes with his Adishesh also, right? So when Rama came, he came with Lakshmana, and similarly when Krishna came, he came with Balram. So similarly, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he came with Balram as Lord Nityananda, and Mahavishnu came as Advaita Acharya. Um, Srimati Radharani descended as Gadadhar Pandit, and then Narada came as Srivasa. So those we will discuss more in detail once if we want to continue this program after Bhagavad Gita also. We have very like regular classes going on where we discuss about who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is and how this whole Sankirtana movement started. Is that okay, Prabhu? Like for now, Advaita Acharya is an associate of Krishna. He is the incarnation of Mahavishnu and Sadasiva.
Okay, I got confused because you said Advaita Charya. I didn't know that Advaita Charya is actually the name of the
Yeah,
Guru.
his name is Advaita Acharya.
Okay,
Yes.
so I was like
He was
confused.
also at that initially following Advaita philosophy, but then he was able to show that the real philosophy is that Achintya Veda. Veda means, yeah, it's a little bit deep concept, but what we have to understand is he is a close associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, so that is the appearance that we have to understand. The next one is, in order to get this transcendental knowledge, who we need? We need a
Teacher.
teacher. We can call it guru or a spiritual master, because gu means ignorance, ru means someone who eliminates. So a guru is someone who removes our ignorance, and the way to approach a guru is in a humble state of mind, submissively rendering service unto him, and then the guru will be able to impart the truth because they have seen the truth themselves. So now we'll start with chapter 5, right? It is now chapter 5 and 6. Krishna goes in detail about the different other yoga processes that are there, which is the Gnana Yoga and Karma Sannyasa Yoga and the Ashtanga Yoga, all those things. So chapter 5, it also starts with a question from Arjuna. But before we start, let's understand this, right? You have knowledge. After you acquire all the knowledge, what do you generally do?
Try to experiment or try to see if that is right.
If you know, if you're experimenting, yes, you will try to see that if it is right or not. But you already got the knowledge which is authentic and then authorized. Then what do you do? For example, you took MBBS, you wrote MBBS exam. They certified you that you have the knowledge of that. After that, what do you do?
We
We need
should
practice.
Practicing.
We
Practicing.
practice it.
We
Yeah.
practice, yes. We apply that knowledge.
Yes.
So initially, that's the same thing, right? We think we are the body. So we are trying to, we don't have the knowledge. And when we don't have the knowledge, we cannot practice. But after we get the knowledge, we automatically practice. So currently, we are in the platform of the body. We think that we are the body, and after that, the body dies. But that is not transcendental knowledge. Transcendental knowledge says that you are the soul. You are not the body, and the soul doesn't die, and it's eternal. It goes from one body to another. So we got the transcendental knowledge. After we got the transcendental knowledge about the soul, what we have to do, we have to work on the platform of the knowledge. Then it makes sense why we acquired the knowledge. So we did MBBS. After MBBS, are we satisfied? No, we use that knowledge to work. We passed engineering. Or do we just sit there, or do we take the knowledge and build bridges or write, solve computer application programs and all those things? So we do apply the knowledge. So that's what Arjuna is asking Krishna. Arjuna Vacha
Arjuna Vacha.
Sanyasam Karmanam Krishna
Sannyasam
Sanyasam
karma
karmanam Krishna.
Punaryogam cha samshasi
Punaryogam cha
samshasi.
samshasi.
Yasreya yetayorekam
Yasreyetayoryekam
tanme bruhi sunishitam.
Tanme bruhi sunischitam.
Can someone read the translation?
Arjuna said, O Krishna, first of all, you asked me to renounce work, and then again you recommended to work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial?
Jai, thank you, Prabhu. So basically, Arjuna, do you think that Arjuna's confusion is gone? Yeah, so, but why you think that if Arjuna is an associate of Krishna going along with him in life after life, why he is so confused? what we have to understand is it is a Leela. So the devotees of Krishna voluntarily put themselves in different positions in order to inspire and give knowledge to the future generations or the ordinary people. So Arjuna was under the influence of Yogamaya Krishna's energy, and he voluntarily wanted to be appeared as if he was not knowledgeable. But we understand that Arjuna is an associate of Krishna and he has full knowledge. But it is for our benefit that he gets covered by the ignorance for a brief period, and he asks these questions. And all the questions that Arjuna is asking is basically what the questions that we get. First of all, you told that we are not the body. Okay, then we got the transcendental knowledge, Sankhya knowledge, that we are the soul, not the body. And then after that, we also got the more details about how the knowledge we have to acquire about the soul. The knowledge comes from parampara. You have to approach a guru. Then again, what do I do with the knowledge? We have to apply that. So, and then what if uh, how can we know that if we someone asks the question which is better? Someone might get confused. Okay, I got knowledge, I'm satisfied. No, unless you apply the knowledge, you will not see the result. So Krishna is saying the same thing. Sri Bhagavan Vacha
Srivastavacha
Sannyasas Karma Yogascha
Sannyas
karma
karmayogascha
yogascha
Nishreyasa Karaubhau
nishreyasakara
karau
Tayostu Karma Sannyasat
tayostu
tayostu
karma
karma
sannyasat
sannyasat
Karma Yogo Vishishyate.
karma
karma yogo
yogo
vishishyate.
visishyate.
Can someone read the translation?
The personality of God had replied, the renunciation of work and work in the devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work is the devotional service is better than the renunciation of work.
Jay, thank you, Prabhu.
Renunciation of.
So basically, Krishna is saying that both are good for liberation. But if you are working in, if you work in devotion, that is karma yoga, then it is better than renunciation of work. And why it is the same is when we say renunciation, Krishna is referred to as Krishna is referring here as the real renunciation. Renunciation by artificially stopping work, we have seen that in the previous chapter, Krishna is saying that that is not real renunciation. Real renunciation is renunciation from the results, not the actions itself. Means we should not be hankering for the results. And we might ask, it is mentioned as karma yoga here, or even in the previous verse, it is mentioned as yogam, and we are mentioning as devotion, right? But what we have to understand is, we remember we saw the yoga ladder. First starts with the animalistic platform, then starts the karma kanda, then starts the karma yoga. But then karma yoga, if we just don't dive deep into the karma yoga concept, there is high chance of getting confused. Karma kanda means all the activities that we do, going to the temple, asking for our benefit. Krishna is a transactional. Krishna, I want this. God, I want this. I want this. I want this. I want this for my own pleasure. Then, but if it's not given, we feel sad. If we get that, we feel pride. Oh, I did this. I did like that. So that is essentially the karma kanda. Then, in order to go to karma yoga, remember we discussed it, we have to connect it to the Supreme Lord. Yoga means connection, union. So unless we bring in the Supreme Lord into our life, it is not called yoga. So if you are just saying that I am going to work, I am going to do my duty, I am going to get money from my job, I am going to just use that money to raise my family, I'll go and settle in a farmhouse after retirement, that is not karma yoga. That we have to clearly understand. So many people in India get confused. I am doing my duty. I am not impacting, causing misery to anyone. I will be happy. I will no. Unless and until you are doing it for your own sense gratification. I mean, as long as you are doing it for your own sense gratification, it is not called yoga. Yoga means you have to connect it to the Supreme Lord. So once you bring in the Supreme Lord, then Karma Yoga happens. But in the Karma Yoga, there are two steps also. One is we are still working for our own satisfaction. You see some great musicians, poets, they do so many programs. They do believe in God. But then they feel puffed up when somebody says great things about them, and they 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 feel very satisfied by doing some programs like that. But then their devotion towards God is only towards getting more self satisfaction. They are, of course, they are not attached to the results. If something doesn't work out, since they are relying on God, they will not feel unhappy, or they feel sad, or they will not feel so excited about it. But then internally they feel satisfied. So since that desire for satisfaction, desire for name, fame, those subtle desires are still there, it is called sakama karma yoga. You still have that kama. Sakama means that desire is there. That so it is karma yoga, but with a desire which is impure. Then comes the next level of karma yoga, which is called the nishkama karma yoga. When it comes to nishkama karma yoga, you really don't have any desires for yourself. The only desire is yagna, means we remember yagna, we are working only for the Vishnu, this Krishna or the Supreme Lord. That is the real karma yoga, and when you reach that platform, there is no difference between bhakti yoga and nishkama karma yoga. So that's why when we read Prabhupada's books, when it is written as karma yoga, the context it is written is that you have to do complete nishkama karma yoga. And when you're on the platform of the nishkama karma yoga, it is called bhakti yoga, it is called Krishna consciousness. So these are all synonyms. But when people get too much confused when we say karma yoga means bhakti yoga, because they are stuck in the karma kanda process, or even maybe in the sakama karma yoga. That is not devotion. That is mishrama bhakti. It's called, means it is mixed with your own desires. And the reason I'm stressing this is there is some people confused with the words yoga translated as devotion, and then karma yoga as, because the things that Krishna is mentioning here is nishkama karma yoga. When the concept of nishkama karma yoga is mentioned, there is no difference between that and bhakti yoga. And now Krishna is also saying sanyasastu mahabaho
Sannyasastu mahabaho
dukkam aptum ayogataha
dukkam aptum ayogatah
yoga yukto munir brahma
yogayukto munirbrahma
nachirena gachati.
nachirena gachati.
Can someone read?
Merely renounce,
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay.
Jai, thank you, Mataji. So here, if you see, we can sit in meditation, but are we really meditating? Our mind goes in 1,000 different places. We can't even imagine how powerful our mind is, because when we sit for meditation, it can think of like 100 things in half a millisecond. Like all the things come into our mind at the same time. So we can all do a small exercise. I would say, like, maybe everyone close your eyes, and I will say, when everyone is closing your eyes, I say, don't think of a white monkey jumping from one tree to another. Don't think of it. How many did not think of it? How many thought of it? Almost everyone thinks
That's the
about it,
only thing you
because
can think of once you tell, don't think of it.
exactly. That's the only thing you can think of. Okay, now again, close your eyes and say, I'm saying, think of a honeybee that landed on a flower and it is collecting the honey from the flower. I'm saying, think of it, right? We can easily think of it. But the thing is, when you're thinking of the honeybee that is collecting the honey from the flower, were you thinking of the monkey jumping from one tree to another?
No.
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 Exactly. So that is what Krishna is saying here. If you artificially try to control your mind, it doesn't get controlled. But if you engage it in the service of the Lord, you're not thinking of the material miseries that you have, or the material things that you have. So imagine that you go to a temple and you're seriously doing services there, like um, doing first of all offering prayers and then talking to devotees and engaging in Krishna Katha, listening to the script. Even like take sitting in a kirtan, right? You're simply focusing on the kirtan. When you're sitting in the kirtan, were you worried about um, any of the rent that was not paid or those things? No, automatically not. So all the miseries will go away when we are engaged in the Supreme Lord's service. So same thing. The more and more we engage, the more and more we'll be free from miseries. We will later see from later chapters that okay, now okay, Krishna, like you are saying all nicely. What about my problems that I have? Okay, I will send. I'm ready to give my 24 hours to you. But what happens to my other problems that I have? It comes with faith, right? Krishna is saying, Yoga Kshemam Vaham Yaham. I am going to carry your problems. I will take care of the problems. And that will come once we start trusting Krishna. If we give Krishna everything, Krishna will give us everything back. Like we saw how he reciprocates. But those will come in the later chapters, so it will be more and more inspiring. But for now, let's understand that if the more we engage in the service of the Lord, the more we'll be free from the miseries.
Just
We'll
one,
read them.
sorry, Prabhu.
Yeah,
Just
go ahead.
point I just like to say. So it's like through through devotional service only you will actually attain the renunciation or the sannyasa and not
Yes,
directly. That's what I think the message.
yes, that's correct.
The wordings are a
So,
bit
yeah,
correct.
so because Krishna says the real renunciation is renunciation of the mind, not the physical activity. And as long as you are, even though you leave the every family and go to the forest and you are sitting and meditating, if your mind is stuck with your family, that is called not called renunciation. It's called mithyachara, means like fake renunciation. Real renunciation is it's not the you can still work in a company, you can still work be in a family atmosphere, but if your mind is not attached, if your mind is always attached to Krishna, that is real renunciation. If you're so yeah, what you said is right, uh, and that is possible with devotional service because when you are engaged in devotional service, your mind is automatically attached to Krishna, which means that it is not attached to other material things.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, here I have one question.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Even after going to temple and while doing the devotion service like cleaning activity or while doing bhajan, chanting and other activities, Prabhuji, our mind will be, going here and there and it is thinking of 100 things which are going in our real world. So in this case, like, the whatever the service, devotional service we do to the God, will that be useful or not useful, Prabhuji?
So any activity that you do in devotion service, we read in chapter 2, Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even a little service that we do in devotional service will be beneficial for us. It will save us from the greatest danger, right? So when you're doing the activity, we have to focus. It will be so. Here is the thing: thinking of nothing is very difficult for the mind, but thinking of something is comparatively easier than thinking of nothing. So when you're doing meditation, we are supposed to not think of anything. We are supposed to think of some bright light or some nothingness. But on the other hand, doing devotional service is thinking of the Supreme Lord. So if you are doing devotional service, if your mind is still going, then you can always bring it back. So what it is mentioned is Krishna looks at our endeavor. He doesn't look at the result. The moment you realize that your mind is going somewhere, if you put an effort, sincere effort to bring it back, Krishna will look at that. Instead of saying, because not everyone gets the same mind, right? Some people are able to control their mind easily, some people may not be able to control their mind so easily. So is Krishna going to say that, okay, this person is not able to control the mind, so I will not give them result? No. Krishna is saying that if the person is putting a sincere effort to bring it back, one person might be talented or has mind so much under control that within a minute his mind only goes to other things two times or three times, but some people it might be going 10 times. But if in those when the mind is going elsewhere, if a person who can control the mind is not bringing the mind back after those two times, versus a person who has the mind going 10 times was able to bring it back three or four times, the person Krishna will give more mercy to the person who brought it more times back. What I'm saying is we have to put an effort. We of course, like we got the knowledge, we got the MBBS degree, the doctorate degree. Will we be able to perform surgeries right away? No, right? We need to practice. Same thing. We have to practice, practice, practice. And then later, then you can apply the same logic. Okay, well, I'm sitting in meditation. I will also do some practice. Yes, we are not saying that this will not work. All we are saying is this one is easier than this. Engaging in something will be able to help us compared to not engaging in something. So what Krishna directly says that in the later chapters, I think in chapter 13 or something, he says that, oh Arjuna, the process of meditation or the process of renunciation is so hard, it is so troublesome. But if you engage in a service, it is much easier. So yes, if your mind is going elsewhere, you have to bring it back. But at the same time, if you engage in any activity that is not related to Krishna and try to attain liberation, it's even much harder.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Great question, Prabhu. Yeah. Or maybe, and then you also think of doing any service that you like the most, right? Which you get most engaged. Like, for example, you might be doing service, but you have to ask the question, is if something you are doing it out of full interest and thing, your mind will automatically be fully engaged. But if we are something doing it by force or not so much interest, then our mind will be distracted. Okay, so you can keep changing the service. And in service of Krishna, there are so many services that we can do. What 9 types, which is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Like those are many varieties.
Sure, Prabhuji.
In the interest of time, we'll move a little faster. So the next one is Brahmanyadaya Karmani
ब्रह्मण्यादाय कर्माणि
Sangam Tyaktva Karoti Yaha
Sangam Tvatya Karoti Yaha
Lipyate Nasa Papena
Lipyate Napapena
Padma Patram Ivambasa.
Padmapatram Ivambasa.
This is a popular verse from Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, so anyone can read the translation.
One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action as the lotus leaf is untouched by water.
Jai. So what Krishna is saying is he is giving an analogy. You see a lotus leaf, even though it is inside the water, it is always dry. You put some water drop on the lotus leaf, it will still be dry. The water falls off. So same thing. We can be engaged in all types of activities, but if your mind is only much attached to the Supreme Lord, then it is real Nishkama Karma Yoga, and then it is like a lotus flower where we can be people when looking at us and say, "Oh, this person, this leaf is in the water. This person is engaged in all sorts of material activities," but internally he is not attached. It is said that Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardana. He knows that what is inside our heart. If our heart is not attached to those things, and if his heart is just attached to Krishna, he knows that and he uses the result accordingly. The next one will be Yukta Karma Phalam Tyaktva
Yukta karma phalam
Phalam Tyakva
Shanti Mapnoti Naistikim
Shakti
shantim apnoti
Ayukta Kama Karena
Ayukta Kama Karena
Palasakto Nibadhyate.
Alasakto
nibhadyate.
Can someone read the translation?
The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of all activities to me, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruit of his labor, becomes entangled.
So it's Krishna is trying to keep it so black and white for us. He's saying, do it for me, you will be free from all the results or of the sins that are there, and you will attain peace, because we'll see later what is the peace formula. If we bring in Supreme Lord into our life, peace automatically comes. But if we try to do it for our own sense gratification, we want the fruits of the labor, then we become entangled. We become bound to this material world. So that's the secret, simple thing. We want sense gratification. We have to keep taking life after life. We want to just work for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Our cycle of life and death will be broken very soon. So what did we understand from the life lessons, from these previous verses? The lesson is, it is not the action that causes bondage or liberation, but the consciousness in which the action is performed. So we can be in the same, doing the same activities, but if our consciousness is always in Krishna consciousness, then it leads us to liberation. Otherwise, it leads us to bondage. And then Krishna introduces the three doers in the thing. So then the question might come up, okay, why am I getting all this karma back, right? And what do we have the ability to perform actions? So now Krishna introduces the concept of super soul and the Prakriti, material world. Simple one question. How many souls are there in our body?
One.
One soul.
One. Any other questions? Any other answers? So the answer is two, actually.
Atma Paramatma.
So in the Katha Upanishad, the analogy was given. Our body is like a tree. In the tree, there are two birds sitting on the branches. One bird is sitting on the lower branches and going from one branch to another, eating different fruits. Sometimes it is eating a sweet fruit. Sometimes it is eating a bitter fruit, and either feeling happy or feeling disgusted. But there is another tree sitting on the topmost branch. That is a witness bird that is just observing what this is this first bird is doing. So same thing in our body, we have, each of us has an individuality, individual soul that is unique. That is our own identity. But in every body, there is a second soul, which is a super soul. That is Krishna as Paramatma, and he is the witness. He is witnessing. So I don't know what's happening. I know what is happening in my body, like what my thoughts are, what those things are. But I don't know what is happening in somebody else's body, what their thoughts are, what their desires are. But Krishna as Paramatma knows what our desires are, what our past activities are, everything, because he is in everyone's body. So basically the two concepts is called soul and super soul. It's called, soul is called the Anuatma, super soul is called the Vibhu Atma. Means the soul is more fallible, means it can come under the influence of Maya. The super soul, Vibhu means great. It doesn't come under the influence of Maya. So we might ask the question, okay, the soul is going from one body to another. Who is keeping track of the past activities? The answer is the super soul. The super soul who is present in everyone's body is keeping track of all the activities that we have done in the past, and based on the desires that we have, the super soul gives us the body that accordingly fulfills our desires. Then the what we have to understand is the soul also, the individual soul being Anuatma, really doesn't have the ability to perform actions. So there are a few set of verses that are there, but I will touch this on a high level because this is also a deeper concept. The soul's ability, we have to understand this. Our only ability is to have desires. And based on our desires, the super soul looks at our desires. And if we really deserve those, he will sanction. He will say, okay, this should happen. Then it is the material world, the three modes of material nature, Prakriti, which is we'll read about three modes later, but it is actually the energy that is moving our body, the Mahamaya. So our body is moving because not by ourselves, it is being moved because of Prakriti. And why the body is moving is because the super soul is sanctioning that it has to move this way. And why the super soul is sanctioning is we have some desires. So if there is an office and there is a job that opens up a higher position, and 5 people might be trying to get to that position. All 5 people have the desires, but it is the super soul that knows that which person has put the most effort, which person has given the most towards the company. uh, I'm just giving an example, but uh, and which person has been more sincere. All those things will come into consideration, and that might be sanctioned only to one person. And sometimes it might be appearing that okay, a person who is very much not working, and also, but we have to look at all the previous actions that they did. Also, we might be looking at a small vision that only a set time frame, but we have to look at uh, and the examples that were given is all the people that are becoming presidents, prime ministers of great nations, and very much popular in the whole world. They have been desiring that for millions and maybe thousands or hundreds and times. I want to lead a country. I want to lead a country. They're constantly desiring, dying, desiring, dying, desiring, dying, desiring, dying. At in one lifetime, they get the opportunity to become. So either if we want to really become a president, we can keep on desiring. Next life, we'll keep on desiring, 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 and maybe in the 10th or 15th lifetime, we might become a president. But instead, do we really want to take that many lifetimes? Our desire should be, I want to go back home, back to Godhead. If we sincerely desire that, then Super Soul sitting within our heart will take us towards will bring a spiritual master into our life, and they will be able to guide us toward the path of liberation. Okay, so we'll read. Ye hi samsparshaja bhoga
ये हि
Dehi samsparshaja bhoga
dukkha yonaya evate
दुःखयोनय एवते
एवते
adyantavantah kaunteya
आद्यन्तवन्तः
nateshu ramate buddha.
नतेषु
Nateshu ramate buddhaha.
Can someone read?
An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end. And so the wise man does not delight in them.
Jai. So what we can understand is, if we are intelligent, we know that this birth after birth, birth after that, we are getting miseries only. And it is covering, it is the fire of material. It's called Davagni, like the forest fire. It is consuming us with all the desires, and it is keeping us here and keeping us in this misery. What we have to understand is, our troubles that are coming is because of our past desires. If you think about all the miseries that you are getting, it will be unique for each of us. Just do a small exercise after this class or in the next couple of days. Think of the desires that you have. Think of the some of the miseries that you are getting, and you keep asking, "Why am I getting that? Why am I getting it?" It turns out that you wanted to do something, or you wanted something to happen in such a way that you are that was leading it. Instead, if you did not, if you're holding it tightly, then those things are there is friction. But if you just leave it, let it happen the way you want. If you just give it up, you will start realizing that it is not causing as much misery as you thought. So same thing. If you are in the material world, you want to things happen in such a way, you want this particular thing and all that also comes with miseries. And if you want to become president, yeah, we have to spend 15 or 20 lifetimes always hankering for that, hankering of that we might become. But a wise person will not waste time. They will immediately, they know that this place is a dukkhalayam ashashvatam, and the miseries that are come or the pleasures that come are only, they have a beginning and an end. They are not permanent. So instead, they seek for a permanent happiness, which is not here in the material world, but in the spiritual world. And later chapter, Krishna says, Bahunam janmanamante gnanavan mam prapadyante. Means after many, many births only, a gnanavan, mam, me, prapadyante means surrenders. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlava. That person is very rare to find. The fact that we all came into this Bhagavad Gita class and listening to this means that we have been having a strong desire to take step towards spirituality. If you are at the doorstep of the spirituality, why close the door right away? Just take a few steps. And the beauty of Bhakti Yoga is you should not, you need not leave anything. You can still be in a family atmosphere. You can still love your kid. You can still love your spouse. You can still love the job that you are doing. All you have to do it in the consciousness of Krishna. Anything that you do, if you want to satisfy him, the work that you do, if you give some donation with the salary that you get, or you engage your kids in Krishna conscious activities, teach them Rutanga, teach them Kirtan, teach them read to Bhagavad Gita, they themselves, and make them good citizens, then your life is fulfilled. You don't have to leave anything. So life responsibility is take responsibility of your action. Don't blame God. So the karma is coming back to us because God, the actions are happening because of our desires. Since we are the desirer, the karma is also coming back to us. We should not blame God for that. We should blame our own desires for that. And we should take responsibility. If we don't, if we purify our desires, our karma will stop. And the last verse of this chapter is, we have been discussing about miseries, 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 right? What are those miseries? Or before that, we in the beginning classes, I said, raise your hand if there is anyone who doesn't have desires. Nobody raised because yeah, all of us have desires. And when our desires are fulfilled, we become happy. But are we having peace? Even though we, let's say our desires are fulfilled, we become happy, but are we having peace in our life? No. Because why we don't have peace in our life is we also have the two sides of the coin. One side we have desires. Fulfilling the desires is giving us happiness. But the other side of the coin is there is nobody in this world who says that they don't have difficulties or miseries. And okay, for desires, the solution is working and getting the results and fulfilling them. What is the solution for miseries? So how can we get peace? There is no peace. Basically, peace is like you. What are the miseries that we have? Is they are called tapatraya, three miseries, threefold miseries, also called klesha. Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik. Adhyatmik means our body itself will create miseries. Oh, what if this happens? The mind will tell, oh, what if this happens? What if my job goes? What if the visa rules become hard? Or what if some country invades this country? Which is happening also, but all those things. And Adi Bhautik means our fellow living entities will cause misery. Either it is the animals, or it is the viruses, bacteria, or it is our own family members. And finally, Adi Daivik means the miseries that are not, which are caused by the higher entities, which are not in our control, like cyclones, earthquakes, like that. Then how can we get out of that? How can we get relief from those? Only if our miseries go away, then we will be peaceful, right? So the peace formula is this. Bhoktaram yagna tapasam
Bhoktaram yajna tapasam
sarva loka maheshwaram
Sarvalokamaheshwaram
Maheshwaram
suhrudam sarva bhutanam
Suhridam Sarvabhutanam
Sarvabhutanam
natva mam shantim ruchati.
Natva mam Shantim
Shantam
Pritchati.
Can someone read the translation?
A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, and supreme lord of all planet and demigods and the benefactor and well wisher of all living entities and attends peace from the pangs of material miseries.
Jai, thank you, bro. Thank you, Mother. So, what we can understand is three things we have to understand. What are those three things? Bhoktaram yagna tapasam. Any yagnas or tapas, austerities that you are doing, we have to understand that the ultimate beneficiary is Krishna only. Even though you might be doing for Indra, Chandra, or anyone, they are going to offer it to the Supreme Lord anyway. So it is ultimately going to Krishna only. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is the Supreme Lord of all lokas, Sarva Loka, in the entire material world, whatever loka is there, he is the Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Suhrudam Sarva Bhutanam. What else? He is the Sarva of all the Sarva Bhutanam, of all the living entities, he is the Suhrudam. He is the topmost well-wisher. He gives the instructions that makes us happy. And Gnatva Mam, if we know that Santi Mruchati, Santi, then peace will come. So let's look at the threefold miseries that we have. First one is Adhyatmik, our own mind and body creating miseries. But if we know that Krishna, Suhrudam Sarva Bhutanam, he is the well-wisher of all living entities, then we come to the understanding that whatever is happening in my life is for my own benefit, that Krishna is doing this. Then that misery will be gone. Whether we get a health problem, if we just go and surrender to Krishna, and he will take care of it. If we have some doubt that something might happen and my life will be troublesome, just surrender to Krishna. Krishna being the well-wisher, he will give us the right direction and he will take care. The next one is Adi Bhautik, the misery from the other living entities. We have to understand that Bhoktaram Yagnatapsam, whatever the other living entities are doing, are also ultimately they are going for the satisfaction of Krishna or Vishnu only. So in that case, why struggle? We might be wanting to do in one way, they might be wanting to do it in different way. Unless and until they are coming and actually causing us physical or mental misery for us, let them do what they are doing. You do what you are doing, so that misery will be going away. Don't try to compare. Don't try to try to overcome other people. You do your own sense, your own progress. Uh, don't think that, oh, that person is getting more money, I have to get more money. Don't compare that. Everyone is in their own journey. Let them do. Ultimately, it is the Krishna that is going to get benefited from anybody's activity. So you do the more activity in Krishna consciousness and give more pleasure to the Supreme Lord. Then the next one is Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. What is the third misery? Adi Atmik, Adi Daivik, which is the misery caused by the higher entities. What we have to understand is, even though Indra is is the one who is responsible for the rains, the showers and all those things, and the responsible for the food grains and Varuna and all those things, they are all working under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. They are all compared to, in chapter 2 we did not read that verse, but it is mentioned in chapter 2 that when this material world is created, Krishna appointed all these demigods, devatas, so that they can provide rains and give the human general public ability to grow and fulfill their desires, the grains and food, and fulfill their desires. So if you take any company or a kingdom, you have the king and you have the ministers and the appointed officers. Similarly, in the company, we have the CEO and we have the other VPs, directors, and all. You, as an employee or you, as a citizen of the kingdom, if you are a friend with the king himself, if you are a king with the CEO, can the VPs and directors touch you or cause
No.
misery to you? No, they don't dare to do that. So if we make Krishna our friend, we don't have to worry about anybody else actually. And there is a great pastime of Govardhan Leela. Maybe we can discuss tomorrow, where Krishna saves the people in Kukula who are relying on him, even though Indra was pouring, he's creating, trying to flush them or flood them out with rain for 7 nights, 7 days, and 7 nights. But he lifts the Govardhana hill and protects them. So what we have to understand is, this is all one big circle. Everything links to each other in this spiritual concept. If we surrender to Krishna, everything makes sense. He will give us complete protection. And nobody else in this material world can touch us, whether it is the other living entities or the higher living entities, or even our own mind and thing will be satisfied. Once these three miseries are gone, what happens? We will become peaceful. So Bhoktaram Ekadana, he is the supreme controller, he is the supreme proprietor, and who is the supreme well-wisher. So he is always well-wishing for us. He is waiting for us to go back to him. So if we just surrender to him, he will put us in the places where it will lead us to destination. And even the Brahma or the Indras, everyone, they are under the control of the Supreme Lord. And anything anybody is doing is for the satisfaction of Vishnu only. So that concludes the chapter 5. And there is another pastime where when Krishna and Balaram were playing in the and doing cow herding, they feel very hungry. And there is in the village there is a huge yagna that was going on. All the brahmanas assembled to do yagna. And when there is a yagna, there is so much food that was prepared to offer and then serve as prasadam. But since the yagna was still going on, it was not offered to Vishnu yet. Vishnu means yagna, right? And Krishna and Balaram want to show us what is the real essence of the Vedic scriptures. So they ask, "Hey Gopa boys, hey friends, we are feeling very hungry. Go and ask these brahmanas in the yagna to give us that food so that we can have food." And they go and ask the brahmanas, "Hey, my friends Krishna and Balram, they are feeling very, very hungry. You have so much food. Can we take some food? We'll all eat together." And they say, "No, we are offering you food to yagna. You cannot yet wait until, or we will not give any food to you until your yagna is done." They come back to Krishna and Balram. They say that. Then they say that, okay, go and ask the wives of the Brahmanas who are doing the yagna. So they go and say that, oh, mothers like Krishna and Balram are feeling very hungry. They immediately get very much like compassionate. They feel sorry. Oh, my kids, the Krishna and Balram, the little kids, they are feeling hungry. Let me give all the. So they pack all the food that was prepared for yagna and give it. So what we have to understand is we should not be too much attached to the Vedic rituals. Vaishnavas, who are people who are surrendered to Krishna and Vishnu, who are always in love with Krishna and Krishna, they are they get more mercy from the Supreme Lord than the actual Brahmanas who are following the Vedic rituals strictly. So if we surrender to Krishna, we don't have to follow the Vedic rituals. But in order for us to reach that level, we have to take a help of the Vedic. What I'm trying to say is here, what S. Krishna is essentially saying is, these rules are meant for helping us reach the final destination. But we should not be stuck with the rules. We should not be stuck with gnana. We should not be stuck with karma. We have to use it as a means to reach the ultimate abode, which is Krishna. Yeah, so anyone wants to read the verse and translation? This is from Padma Purana. It is similar to the same verse. हरिरेव समर्दयः सर्वदेवे सुरेश्वरः हरिर्नाम महामन्त्रैर्नश्यत् नश्यत् पाप नश्यत् पाप पिसचकम्. Or can someone read the translation?
All the grievous sins of one who worshipped Lord Sri Hari, the Lord of all lords, and chants the holy name, the Maha Mantra are removed.
Jai, thank you, Mataji. So we can understand, right? If we have to remove our sins, if we want to bring Krishna into our life, we can start with the process of chanting. That is also the prescribed method for this age. So everyone get a chanting bead bag and also have a copy of Bhagavad Gita, and then we can bring Krishna into our life and all our miseries will be gone. So we can still work hard to fulfill our desires, but our misery, if we bring Supreme Lord into our life, our miseries will also be gone, and within this life we'll go back home, back to Godhead. Any questions before we close today's session?
Actually, just to add, Prabhu, that book you actually said about the Bhoktaram Yagna Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Just to add, like I kind of add just two concepts actually. The Bhoktaram actually is the enjoyer. So just to take it ahead, in 13th chapter, Krishna says, Upadrashtanumantacha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara. So I am the enjoyer. So like in our limited world, we'll think we are the enjoyer. But no, it says Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara. I am the enjoyer. So that is on the bhokta. So enjoyer of what? Like of the works that you do, right? So, but then again, all the works, all the karma that you perform, that it's the katrutva, the agency. So like Krishna says, I think in 13th or 16th, around that 13th, 16th verse, I think in the 5th chapter, Nadate kasyachit papam nachaiva sukrutam vibhuhu. That I'm not keeping in account, or I don't like cause anyone to believe that they are actually the doer or neither the enjoyer. But then what is the reason? Agnane avrutam gnanam tena muhyanti jantava. It's the agnane avrutam gnanam. Avrutam is covering. So agnane avrutam gnana. So agnana, the ignorance is covering the knowledge, and
Yes, Prabhuji.
therefore you're
So we
actually
will.
falling.
That's the thing, right? In the interest of time, we will not be able to cover everything. And yeah, great that you know all these verses. But we because you are able to read the previous further chapters, and we have to bring it back. So we have to evolve, right? So with this new group, we will go there.
Okay.
And there is the whole last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita was dedicated for Gnana Yoga. Means the concepts that are touched in this Gnana were dived deep for total of 6 full chapters. So which is where you are also bringing. So we'll discuss that further. But yeah, ultimately the enjoyer is Krishna only.
Yeah, Krishna only, and the katrutva part of it, that is the agency, the doership part of it, that was
Doer
actually
is
touched
we
in.
think we are the doer, like prakrite krimanani gunai karmani sarvasa
That is
ahankar
what you didn't
vimudatma
cover.
kartaramit manite. Means we think we are the doer, but we are thinking we are the doer because of ignorance only, the agnana. But if we have the real knowledge, then we know that we are not the doer. It is the prakriti, the 3 modes of material nature that is doing
That
it
does everything.
under that.
Yes.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah,
Okay, any other questions? If not, we will say Hare Krishna Mahamantra 3 times and we'll close today's session. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. भगवान श्री कृष्ण परमात्मा की जय, भगवद गीता की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। All glories to Krishna, Hare Krishna, glories to Krishna, devotees, Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.